Greetings everyone, welcome to this new video. We're gonna talk about how to level up your very own spellcaster in a new league. The skill we have chosen is Freezing Pulse. Freezing Pulse you get already at level 1 and it will carry you all through the acts and all through the maps and all through the end game in this game. And it's easy with the links, it's easy with the gear, and it's also generic enough that you can basically create any kind of character that is close to any spell power nodes. And we can transition into any other build late on in the game when we have generated enough currency to do so. So without further ado, let's jump into the guide. For the first section we're going to talk about our gem links that we're going to use in this leveling experience. First of all, it's going to be Freezing Pulse that we already pick up at level 1. We're going to link that at level 8 with added cold damage. And later on, when we get to level 18, we're going to pick up Controlled Destruction and also faster casting. We're going to keep on using these and just level up the gems as normal all the way until we hit level 31, because then we can switch out in our 4 link that we have. We're gonna switch out added cold damage with hypothermia, and at level 38 we might wanna switch out faster casting with spell echo to make the leveling experience and the DPS just skyrocket. So that is our main setup. For our next link setup is gonna be our auras. We're gonna use Clarity at level 10, so we are sustaining our mana very well without the mana flask, hopefully. And at level 16 we're gonna pick up Herald of Ice because of the UC explosion we get and the damage boost. And at level 16 we're also gonna pick up Skitterbots as a passive buff, because that means that enemies are gonna be both shocked, which means extra damage, and chilled, which means they're gonna be slower, so it's gonna increase our survivability. We might also wanna pick up Celerity at level 24 and maybe switch it out with Herald of Ice, because we cannot use all of these at the same time until we get reduced mana reservation on any of our gear pieces or any of the tree. So you might want to switch out the Herald of Ice for Celerity at some point, but take a look at the damage numbers and make your own judgment on that. For a utility link we are going to use Frost Bomb at level 4. It's there to boost our damage with Freezing Pulse, because what Frost Bomb does is that it pulsates on the enemies when you throw it down, and it gives them minus to cold resistance, so it's a very good damage boost, especially on harder monsters like rares and even on bosses. So I highly recommend to use just one link on that spell by itself. For the gearing section we're gonna be on the lookout for some specific stats on our gear. That is gonna be high life, high resistances, mana regeneration, and some nice damage boost through spell power if we can get that on our weapon or other gear pieces. Otherwise we are definitely gonna need to pick up at Act 5, so when you do a quest in Act 5 you get a threshold jewel. You can choose from a bunch of different threshold jewels, and we want to pick up First Snow here, because with First Snow you get 2 additional projectile with your Freezing Pulse, and you also get a hefty damage boost. We can have 2 of these, so you need to go and trade for the other ones. You might want to use some of your currency to actually go trade for it, and then put both of these threshold jewels into your skill tree. This is gonna be a huge buff to your overall damage and quality of life, because projectiles are gonna shoot out of every part of you at that point. So otherwise we are gonna be, it's gonna be beneficial to pick up a few uniques at this point also, if you want to. You don't need to, but if you want to go for the chest armor, the Covenant at level 49, that means you do not need to worry about any kind of mana problems, and it's gonna give a hefty boost because it gives you socketed spells have 15 added chaos damage, that gem. And it also have blood magic, which means that it's gonna take from your life pool when you are using freezing pulse instead of your mana pool, which means that we can take away clarity and all of that mana regeneration and stuff like that. So that's very good. Praxis is also a good ring to pick up early if you get lucky with a currency drop, but otherwise you can just skip that. Also, Heartbreaker is a really good weapon if you want to have some extra spell power early in the game. For the skill tree, we're gonna use Shadow for this example, but you can use basically anyone that is on the top part here, because you can just modify where your starting point is and it's not gonna make much difference. But I'm gonna use a Shadow because I'm gonna transfer into a cost on crit character, which I think in 3.9 gonna be very popular anyway. So this might be most useful for most people. What we're gonna start out with is taking these extra damage nodes here in the beginning, and then I'm gonna go down here, critical strike and critical strike multiplier, go up here. I'm gonna pick up these kind of ones because it's a projectile. Freezing pulse is a projectile, and then we can also boost our survivability a little bit. You can go all the way down here actually. Now we're gonna travel away up here, and we're gonna turn in at this point. That means we're gonna boost our survivability even more here. And picking up some intelligence. Intelligence is very important because we're gonna need a lot of blue sockets for our skill gems. Then we're gonna pick up this jewel socket. This all depends what level you're at here. If you're in Act 5 and you have picked up the first snow one, that means you're gonna put it in here because you need a certain amount of intelligence in this radius, and this one has that amount. So we're gonna put in one there. Then we're gonna go further down here, and we can also pick up these if you want some extra survivability. You decide yourself, or if you want to go more glass cannon kind of a thing. Then we're gonna go and pick up acrobatics because that is huge survivability, one of the strongest survivability nodes in this game. You can also go down here and pick up some extra damage through critical strike and critical strike multiplier. Now we go back up here, and we're gonna pick up, we're gonna go forward here, and we're gonna pick up these nodes right here, which is also critical strike multiplier. It's synergized very well if you want to go critical strike and critical strike multiplier, so the more of you have on both, the better. Then we're gonna continue here, and we're gonna pick up one more for the first snow one we have. And we're gonna pick up some more critical strike for spells here, and the big one right here, which is a huge damage boost. Now we might want to also pick up some power charges, especially if you're a assassin shadow here, because you get a lot of from your ascendancy, you get power charge regeneration, so you get that automatically as an ascendancy if you picked up one, and that means you're gonna get a huge boost from these power charges. And we're gonna go up here because we have cold damage in our build right now. This might be something you spec out of later, but you have to take a look at that. So this is basically the start of the tree. Otherwise, just pick up some extra spell power, some extra survivability nodes. But this is an excellent mix of both survivability and damage. And there we have it. Thank you so much for watching my leveling guide with Freezing Pulse Spellcaster. I hope you subscribe to my channel and put a like on this video. Have an awesome day, everyone.